My name is Mike Waddington. I am a criminal defense attorney, been practicing law for 24 years. I'm going to talk to you about some common mistakes that I see service members making now that a lot of these younger service members grew up in the social media age. Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat. Facebook's for old people, I know that. But I see a lot of Snapchat, Instagram, and other apps. And these apps are getting people in trouble. People that are generally law-abiding citizens are getting hemmed up and taken down by some of the rules dealing with, for example, sharing intimate images, revenge porn, distributing images, unlawful recording, those types of things. So the topic of this video is this: stop sharing videos. Stop receiving shared videos. Don't be filming people without their consent. This is not legal advice. I'm not giving anyone legal advice. If you want legal advice, reach out to a qualified military lawyer. This is more common sense information and a warning to service members out there, more of a public service announcement about what pitfalls you can face in the current military justice system. I'm going to start with a scenario. You have a soldier, he meets someone on Tinder, things progress during their conversations, they exchange private photos, sexual photos. The soldier decides to share some of those images with his battle buddies to get their thoughts on this girl, to show off for whatever reason. Not a big deal, right? She sent them to him. She consented to sending those images to him. Those are his images. He has the right to show them. Wrong. This guy in this fact pattern I'm describing just committed several felonies. He could go to jail for this, and he could be a sex offender for this, and he can be prosecuted under the UCMJ. Let's talk about why. The decision to send an intimate image, girlfriend, boyfriend, sexual partner, or just some stranger to someone else violates their privacy rights and is a crime under the UCMJ. Let's give another example. Here, a sailor upset after a breakup with his girlfriend, the love of his life, sends a nude photo of the ex to some buddies in a group chat. He's pissed at her. She sent him the photo consensually. It was some petty revenge. But guess what? He just committed a serious crime. These examples seem kind of silly, right? Like, what's the big deal? Just send in a picture. But under Article 120C of the UCMJ, they're anything but silly. They're serious federal felony crimes. A felony crime is a crime punishable by more than a year in jail. A felony offense is any crime in the military justice system or the federal justice system. These are things that are going to deprive you from owning a firearm, getting jobs, doing a variety of things. Voting, you could lose your right to vote, and you could also lose your career and be a sex offender. What is Article 120C? Article 120C focuses on other sexual misconduct. This covers offenses like voyeurism, peeping at people, indecent exposure, recording private acts without consent, and the biggie that I see a lot, unauthorized distribution of recordings or images. That means sending someone a picture or showing someone a picture. These laws are designed to protect individuals from having their privacy violated in deeply personal ways. I didn't write the law, Congress did, but it's the law in most states, okay? This law is very similar in the federal system and in most states. What makes this article so serious, though, is its scope. It doesn't matter whether the act was intended as a joke, a momentary lapse in judgment, or a misguided attempt at retaliation or negligence. The law focuses on the impact of the behavior, not the intent. In today's digital world where images and videos can be shared instantly, the potential for violations are higher than ever. Let's get into some real-world examples that I've seen over the past couple years, and we'll discuss how Article 120 plays out there in the real world of military justice. Let's talk about sharing private images without consent. So let's say a soldier receives explicit photos from someone they've been talking to online. Let's say Tinder, Bumble, something like that. Later, they forward those images that the person sent them to a friend, not realizing that this is a crime. Doesn't matter. But under Article 120C, this act of sharing, of sending it to the friend, violates the UCMJ. It's an unauthorized distribution of an indecent visual recording or image. It doesn't matter if the recipient is a close friend, if the person had no intent, or if it wasn't malicious. If I have an image of you that you sent to me, intending it to be between the two of us, and I then go show that to someone else or distribute it to someone else, I committed a crime. It's as simple as that. People get charged with this all the time. People get kicked out of the military all the time for the same thing. I don't want you sitting there thinking, oh, that never happened to me. Yeah, it happens to you. And people like me and my friends that are lawyers defend people like you all the time. And it's so easy to avoid doing this. Here's another example that I see quite a bit. It's called revenge sharing or revenge porn. Imagine after a breakup, a service member is upset with his girlfriend, so he's going to get even by sending a couple photos to some people in his unit. Guess what? That's a crime. This type of behavior, often called revenge porn, is not only unethical, but it's illegal, and it's serious. A conviction for this type of Article 120 offense can lead to a dishonorable discharge. Here's another one: indecent exposure in public. A soldier on a dare while at the beach in San Diego, while drunk, while being cheered on by his buddies, streaks across the beach thinking he's cool, wanting to fit in. Everyone laughs, or at least he thinks they do. But a civilian sees it, is offended, and calls the cops. The cops show up, and guess what? They not only get witness statements that admit that you were running around with your penis exposed, they have a video, because everyone films stuff nowadays. Now we have direct evidence that you committed indecent exposure in public. You're now looking at a charge under the UCMJ. Here's another one that we have been seeing more frequently: recording without consent or taking pictures without consent. So imagine a Marine at a barracks party. He sees his buddy in the room having sex with another Marine. They're both drunk. They're going at it on the bed. He takes out his phone, films it. And then he sends that video of the two drunken Marines having sex. They didn't even know he was filming it. He's now committed what crimes? Indecent recording without consent and distribution of an indecent recording. Those are two different felonies. And it sounds like, oh, it's just a joke. Some young Marine, I'm 20 years old, I just made a mistake, I was drunk, whatever. Doesn't matter, man. These are crimes that have mandatory minimum punishments right now under the UCMJ. Even if the video is never shared, the act of recording is a violation of Article 120C. So I have all these geniuses that come to me and say, oh, I'll just get her to consent. Well, how are you going to do that exactly? If you have to get someone to consent, and it has to be very clear that they're consenting because they might accuse you down the road, you probably shouldn't be with that person. I get this all the time. Like, well, I'm going to film her consenting and I'm going to get her to sign so she doesn't accuse me. I'd rather just tell that person, adios, we're done, we're not having sex. If there's any chance, any risk, any possibility the person is going to accuse you of sexual assault, accuse you of indecent recording, or come out and falsely accuse you of anything, you should not be with that person intimately. Run away. But, people are young, people drink a lot, people do dumb stuff. So that's how folks end up in these situations. So what are some of the legal and career consequences of Article 120C violations? You could be put under investigation. You could lose your career. You can be reduced in rank, lose your pay, get a dishonorable discharge. And many of these offenses carry mandatory sex offender registration. Depending on the state, you're going to have to register wherever you go. You're going to have to be monitored in many situations. You can't leave the country and state without getting permission. These laws are very, very strict. You don't want to be a registered sex offender. In some states, you can't even have an internet connectable device, which means like a phone, an Apple Watch, a computer, anything that can get on the internet if you're a convicted sex offender, because they don't want you collaborating with other sex offenders. And you might even be falsely accused, and you might have just sent a picture of a girl that sent you a nude and you sent it to your buddy and now you're a sex offender. Still, if you're a sex offender, you get treated like crap. And there are a lot of collateral consequences and bad consequences that come from being a convicted sex offender. Here are some tips on how to avoid an Article 120C charge. These are easy to follow. They're easy if you know about it. So if you're a senior leader or just a lower enlisted, you need to let your battle buddies know that this is a thing and don't engage in this behavior. So number one, don't share private images or videos if they're of a sexual nature. I don't care if you got them consensually or not. I don't care if the girlfriend requested that you take 1 million photos of her, or she sent you 1 million photos and videos, or she requested you film a porno with the two of you. Unless she consented and it's clear that she did and it's provable, don't do it. Delete the images. It doesn't matter whether the two of you are together, whether you're in love. Here's another tip, and this is common sense, folks. Don't record anyone without their explicit consent. Like I said earlier, if you don't know if they're consenting, don't do it. Too many people are getting hemmed up on these charges where afterwards it's a he said, she said. Let's say the guy puts a phone next to the bed and records the two of you engaging in sexual acts, and there's no, yeah, I consent on the video. The woman could easily say, I didn't consent to this. There's no consent there. I didn't even know we put the camera there. And you could be screwed. Even if she did consent, the burden's going to end up shifting to you as your command assumes that you're a predator, assumes you're a bad guy, and then sends you to a court martial. And the prosecution's going to assume the same thing. The woman says, I didn't consent. Well, by God, you didn't consent. And we're going to send this to the jury, and the jury might believe her, and you might be in jail. Last thing, watch your alcohol. Alcohol leads to so many of these cases. People drunkenly doing things. That's not an excuse. It's not a defense in most of these cases. Be careful who you associate with. Be careful what you're filming, what you're sending, and be careful if you're in any of these text groups where people are sharing images, because you could get yourself in a lot of trouble without even knowing it. If you're accused of a crime or suspected of a crime, reach out to an attorney, get their advice, get them on your case, and get to work defending yourself, your life, and your future.